What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You are tuned in to the Arrowhead Chief Podcast, episode 150. This is the Chargers and Chiefs recap show. We got a special guest on today. Hope everybody's having a good Monday. We got a lot to get into. Let's talk Chiefs.
Yeah, Arrowhead Chiefs. It's your girl, Miss Nicole. Queen of Hustle, baby. Started from the bottom, now we here. My homie at the start of his career. Let's go. Try to win him early, hear the truth. Tuning every Sunday for the juice. Arrowhead Chief Podcast, bringing all the news. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Quick style. Out here rapping for the crew. Post game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Post game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? We are back. Arrowhead Chief Podcast 150. Chargers versus Chiefs recap show. Got my guy Clarence in here. What's going on, Clarence? Clarence there? Oh, well. Well, we got a special guest today from Sports Illustrated, Matt Verderame. How you doing, Matt?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I want to thank you for coming on to the show, man. I know you're a busy man, so thank you for coming on, man.
Happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Let's just get on into it. Chiefs win 31-17. Patrick Mahomes had one of his better games, 32 for 42, 424 yards. Travis Kelce was Travis Kelce, 12 catches, 179 yards and a touchdown. But the story is other guys contribute. MVS, 3 catches, 80 yards. Rashee Rice, contributing with 60 yards and a touchdown. Pacheco, he's doing his thing, as far as catching and passing, running. And then defense, first half the defense was a little shaky, but they made the proper adjustments, came out in the second half, pretty much pitched a shutout. So Charles Omenihu, his return, he came in with a sack, pressure, had a tip ball for an interception. And that was pretty much the story of the game, man. Chiefs probably had one of their better games against the division rival in the Chargers, and it was good to see. What are some of the things that you saw, Matt?
I mean, look, I think the obvious is that Mahomes throws for over 400. He had over 300 in the first half. Kelce, it felt like Brendan Staley didn't know that Travis Kelce was on the field until about the middle of the third quarter when he decided to actually guard him. Right. But I thought the most important thing that came out of that game was the way they played defense in the second half. Like, everybo's going to get punched in the mouth in the NFL. Right. This is the National Football League. This isn't Alabama playing Presbyterian. Like, you're going to get punched in the mouth sometimes. And give the Chargers credit. They went tempo on the Chiefs. They trapped them in some personnel groupings. And they lit them up in the first half of that game for 17 points. But, it really moved the ball pretty easily. And the Chiefs, in the last 30 minutes of that football game, defensively, were on the field 5 times. And the drive chart for the Chargers was an interception, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, interception, game over. I mean, that's championship football. And that's why, to this point, they had 5 sacks from 5 different players, none of which are named Chris Jones. They had Herbert under pressure all game long. He was constantly harassed, and they didn't blitz much. So if you can play like that defensively and Mahomes and that offense get going, it's going to be a wrap most weeks. They're not going to be challenged very often. I thought the way they played defense second half of that game told me what they're about on that side of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts, Clarence?
Just touching off of what Matt said. I mean, that pressure is it's something we haven't seen here in a long time. I mean, like a really long time. And for Omenihu to come back with that much juice to get a swatted pass, get a sack, being able to work in tandem with Chris right next to him, it was completely impressive, man. The way they just squeezed the Chargers in that second half and just shut them out, it just shows what they are trending towards. And this is what you want to see, especially going into December and January. You want to see them playing some really good football. So these are great building blocks, man.
Were you encouraged by the offense, Matt? Do you think that this could be sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously they're not going to have 400 yards passing every week.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest thing right now is Kelsey's gotten back to being Kelsey. Even when he came back at first, he wasn't really. You could tell in that Jacksonville game, he was back, but he wasn't truly back.
Right.
And it felt like he was kind of rounding at the form. He's back. I mean, these last 2 games, he has destroyed a couple of division rivals.
Mm-hmm.
Then, Mahomes. Look, I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes. As awkward as they've been offensively this year, he's on pace for 4,900 passing yards. Like, he's second in the league in passing yardage, and he's first in touchdown passes. I mean, despite throwing to nobody for a lot of this year. But I think the thing that really is changing the conversation with them right now is Rashee Rice. If that kid continues to get better and better and better every week, I mean, right now he's on pace for 740 receiving yards. That would be the most they've ever had from a rookie receiver in the Andy Reid era, more than Tyreek Hill had as a rookie.
Right.
Like, that is a development to me that if he can kind of do what Juju did for them last year and then add that speed and that dimension to it, look, that's the difference maker. Because if you have him and Kelsey, everybody else falls in line. And that's okay. MVS can be a third option, and Hardman can be a fourth option, and Tony can be kind of a gadget guy, and you're fine. It was they were missing that other guy that they were like, all right, he's going to get open 8 times a game. Rashee Rice is starting to become that. Mahomes is seeking him out. I think that's a huge, huge development for their offense.
With the addition of McCall Hardman, do you think that was a good addition? How did you feel about the trade when they came in?
Look, I think it's one of those things like it's not overwhelming. I mean, McCall Hardman is not a player that you're going to go, oh, he's going to change the whole team. But he's an upgrade. He's a better player than who they had. And in that game yesterday, you could sit there and look at the box score and go, okay, 1 catch, 6 yards. It was an important catch. It was a third down catch in tight coverage. I'll be honest, I don't think that Mahomes would have thrown that ball to some of the other receivers on the team. He trusted him. He trusted him to go up and make a play on that ball, and they convert and they keep the drive going. It was the next play. They score on a touchdown to Pacheco. The other thing, of course, was the punt return. I mean, Washington had done a pretty good job for him, but Washington doesn't have the explosiveness Hardman does. And Hardman split 2 Chargers, made a guy miss and went 50 yards and basically ended the game.
Right.
It's 2 plays in a game of more than 100 total plays, but they were 2 huge plays in the game. I mean, Hardman helped them salt that game away, whereas a couple of weeks ago, they wouldn't have had that guy. Right. So I don't think it's hugely always going to have 1,000 yards, but he adds another element on this special teams game, and he adds a player that Mahomes knows and trusts, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he adds a speed element that we didn't have on this team. MVS and Justin Watson, when he was healthy, even Kadarius Toney, they have more of a build-up speed to him. I think McCall is just as soon as he goes off the line, he's gone. So definitely was good to have him back. And like you said, he doesn't have a learning curve on this offense, and he could just step right in and do his thing. So, and he's great in special teams too. So as you saw yesterday, he had that 50-yard return and iced the game pretty much. So now this Chiefs defense, we all came into this season thinking that this Chiefs defense could be pretty good. Did you think that this defense could be this?
I didn't think they could be a top 3 defense, which is what they are right now. I mean, they, along with the Niners and the Browns, I think are the best 3 defenses in the NFL. And even those defenses have gotten, especially the Browns yesterday, like they've gotten torched. The Chiefs haven't gotten torched in any game they've played. I think the biggest strength the Chiefs have defensively is they don't have a weakness. There's nothing about them that you can target and go, we can do that to this team. We can just go after this guy. They have 4 corners who can all play. They have 3 safeties who can all play. When they're healthy, they have 4 linebackers who can all play. I mean, they just lost an all-pro level linebacker, and the guy replacing him is as good as he is.
Right.
Like, Tranquil can just come in and it's fine. I don't want to say out of disrespect to Nick Bolton, but Tranquil's a really good player. And then you have this front now with Amenahu and Dana and Karlaftis and Jones and FAU. And you just look at it and it's like they got guys coming out of their ears, man. I mean, that game against the Chargers couldn't block any of them. I mean, they were just all in the backfield. Amenahu has a sack. He tips the ball up in the air in the red zone and gets picked off. He had a bunch of pressure. I mean, Charles Amenahu was a huge difference maker yesterday. So, I look at the Chiefs and, okay, look, when Bolton's healthy, he's an all-pro level type player. And Chris Jones, God knows, is. And Trent McDuffie. But, it's to me, it's the Willie Gays of the defense. It's the Brian Cooks and the Justin Reeds of the defense. It is the Karloftis, like really good play, the Sneads, really good players who maybe aren't going to be all pros, but they're really good and they're not going to get beat and they're going to win their snaps. And so look, I think right now, like you look at them and go, yeah, look, maybe they don't have 6 all pros, like the Niners, but they have no weakness. Like the Niners, as great as they are defensively, you can throw on their corners. If you can block, you can throw on them. Now, the Eagles are straight fired, but the Eagles, middle of the field, you can throw in the middle of the field against Philadelphia. None of that exists against Kansas City. Nothing's easy. You want to run it a little bit, okay, they'll give you that, but they're not like you're not going to just throw the ball on them. They have not given up a 300-yard passer this year. They've not given up 20 points or more than 20 points in any game this year. They have held 2 teams under 100 yards passing. I mean, that's impossible in today's day and age. Yeah. Most guys have 100 yards passing after a quarter, certainly after a half. So their defense is lights out right now.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they would be top 10. I didn't see top 3, let alone top 5. So yeah, it's amazing. You give Mahomes a top 5 defense, watch out. So now speaking of the defense, Chris Jones, we all know, they didn't get a deal done. They had to settle for the 1 year, extension deal, whatever. If he meets most of his incentives, do you think that they come back to the table after the end of the season?
Well, I think they're going to no matter what. Now, I don't know if they're going to deal done, but look, the Chiefs have some interesting months ahead of them. And if I'm Brett Veach, I'm probably trying to work not so much with Jones right now because you went through that whole process, but like Tranquil's free agent after this year, Gay's free agent after this year, Edwards is a free agent after this year, Snead's a free agent after this year, Noddy, who's playing well right now, is a free agent after this year. Like you gotta bring back some of those guys now. You got to sign some of those guys right now so that you're not dealing with 6 guys hitting free agency in March. Now, listen, some of those guys, it takes 2 to tango. They might say, hey, look, I don't want to negotiate right now. I want to play the deal out, and that's fine. But the 2 guys above all else are obviously Jones and Snead. Are you going to tag one of them? You probably will. Now, Snead's a hell of a lot more inexpensive than Jones is. To tag Jones is a lot more expensive, but with all due respect to Jerry Snead, Jones is also a much better player and more impactful. I still think, as ugly as that whole thing got, I still think they'll sign him. I just don't you're going to let that guy walk. You're going to let that guy leave for a compensatory pick. Right. I just can't imagine. Brett Veach is an excellent general manager. I cannot imagine that they're going to let that guy walk out of the building. Snead, as great as he is, they have McDuffie. They've got Williams and Watson. They've been excellent at drafting corners. I can tell you that internally they love Shamari Connor. Like they have other guys there. If you lose Jones, none of the rest of this works. So I think that, yes, they'll go to the table. I still think they get something done. Jones loves being a Kansas City Chief. Right. Loves it. I just don't think at 30 years old he's going to just walk out the door as long as the Chiefs give him a solid offer. And I think they're kind of compelled to. I mean, I just don't walk. They lose him for a 3rd-round pick. Who cares?
Yeah, I think they lost a little leverage once he came back. Off of not having no training camp, holding out, and he comes in, gets a sack, and he's playing some of his best ball ever. Yeah, I think Chiefs have to bring him back. You know what I'm saying? He makes that defense go. So
I mean, they haven't lost a game since he's been back. They've not lost a game, and they're playing. Look, I mean, and the other part of this is too. No, obviously they may not. What did they win the Super Bowl again this year? You're letting that guy walk out the door, like you're trying to three-peat, trying to be the first team to ever do it, and you're at least in the Super Bowl era, and you're going to let that guy just see you. We're going to try to do this now with Derek Nottie and Sean Wharton inside. Like, I don't know how you do that. What if he left and he signed with, I don't know. What if he signed Buffalo? What if he signed Miami? You're going to let that guy leave? It's crazy. You can't. I think as weird as this has been, I will say this. Sometimes it happens like that, and it gets acrimonious, and it's bitter, and there's really no – it never got like that.
Right.
There was really no bitterness. Even talking to people behind the scenes, there's no hard feelings. So I do think at least that's a very good sign going forward.
Yeah, it is. Now, to this receiving core. Now, going into this year, we all had most of us had high expectations with Sky Moore. I think some other people are not as high on Sky Moore, but some people, he has a little bit of hype train going into this season. But for whatever reason, this year has not clicked to what everybody thought it was going to be. What have you seen as far as Sky Moore on the field? Is it because he's not getting open? Is it, him and Mahomes just don't have the rapport? What have you seen?
Man, I think it's a lot of things. With due respect to to Sky Moore, I think it's a combination of right now he's not the best route runner at times, and they don't have the right spacing. You see a lot of routes where they're bunched and jumbled together, and that's not always on Sky Moore. Sometimes it can be somebody else's fault too. But I think because of some of those issues, I don't think Mahomes trusts him. And I was at the game where they played Denver, and there was a play in the first quarter, the first drive. Sky Moore is so open, it's almost impossible on the sideline. And if he throws the ball to him, it's a 30-yard gain, and Mahomes ain't going to look at him. Like, I'm not throwing you the ball. I'm not doing it. Like, I'm going somewhere else with it. I think a lot of it is just trust. I think a lot of it is he doesn't believe in him where he's going to be. Look, when you're Sky Moore, you've got to be able to be good at everything else. Like, you're not a burner. You're not Justin Ross's size.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be a really good route runner who has great hands, and you need to understand defensive concepts and use it against those teams. Like, if you're not those things, you're done. Rashee Rice can get away with that every once in a while because you just body some guy and run him over. Like, Sky Moore is not going to do that. So, like, I think at this point, like, Sky Moore to me, it is what it is. I don't think the team's given up on him. I mean, he was second in snaps yesterday.
Yeah.
But he's just not produced. And I think at this point with Rice and Kelsey and now Hardman's back, like, they're trying to win a Super Bowl. Like, the train's leaving the station. They don't have time to sit here and try to develop Sky Moore for the next 2 months.
Right. Speaking of the snap count, I noticed that Ross had more snaps than Tony.
Yeah.
Is that the Chiefs telling us, like, yeah, we might be, wrong on Tony? Or are they just trying to reserve him for the playoff run, maybe?
I think that it's fair to say that Tony is at least falling out of favor a little bit here. I mean, I don't think there's any question. He hasn't deserved to be on the field. I mean, let's just call it what it was. I covered that game for SI, that week 1 game, and he was a mess. I mean, nothing against the man. He's the single biggest reason they lost that football game, without any question. And look, we all have our bad days in life. He had a bad night. I think the problem is after that game, like, what has he done? And now the flip side with Kadarius Toney, he could single-handedly win them a playoff game because he could just go nuts, and they know that.
Yeah.
And so they've got to keep him engaged. But I think at this point, Tony's just not developed how they want. And again, it speaks to they went out and got Hardman back. Say whatever you want about Hardman, they know him, they trust him. Justin Watson, for all the Chiefs fans who are like, well, what does he really do? I'll tell you what he does. He catches the ball. Like, Mahomes loves him, just does. So when he comes back, he's ahead of him. Rashee Rice is to the point, like, Rashee Rice, your number 1 receiver.
Right.
That dude can just flat out play. That guy's getting the football. And MVS, for as slow of a start as he had, he has a track record. Like, MVS pretty much every year has 600 to 700 yards receiving. Mm-hmm. And you saw against the Chargers, like, he can still do it. So I just think that right now they want guys that they trust. They trust Watson, trust MVS despite the slow start. They're trusting Rice more and more by the day. Obviously, they trust Kelsey. It just leaves Tony in a spot where at some point there's just not that many snaps to go around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the trust for Ross will get an uptick?
I think they just want to see what they have in him. I mean, that kid, look, one thing about him, he's got more size and speed than anybody else on that team. And that guy can jump through the gym. And when you have a kid like that, you've got to find out a little bit more about him. Mm-hmm. Like, you just have to find out, hey, look, can he handle 25 snaps a game? Can he handle certain routes? Can we design certain plays for him? Because he's the kind of dude you run on a post route and just say, hey, man, if it's one-on-one, throw it. Like, let him go up against some 5'11" safety. Good luck. Have fun. Like, Ross is Rice is big, but Ross is that lanky, like, he's like a basketball player. I mean, that guy can just go up and get it. You know, there's certain guys you watch in the NBA where you're like, that dude's just different. He just elevates different than other guys. You know, Ross can be like that where physically he can just moss some guy in a way that I don't know that any other receiver on the Chiefs can. MVS is a big lanky guy, but he's not a leaper.
Right.
Ross can just go up with a guy, go, I'm just going to beat you to the ball. I'm going to beat you to the catch point. And I think if you're the Chiefs, you got to find out what you have in him.
Yeah, most definitely. You saw that catch in the Viking game?
Yeah,
He
Vikings,
made that big catch. You want to see more of that. I would want to see more of that in the red zone. But I understand how Andy works his system. He likes to slow play guys who are new to the system, and so they can catch on a little bit. So I get it, but I would like to see him more in the red zone. I think he would be a great addition in that red zone. So, the trade deadline comes up October 31st, Halloween. I know they just made the move for McCall Hardman, and Kansas City's last year they got Kadarius Toney, and that was a little bit of a surprise. Do you see a move like that happening for the Chiefs?
Talking to people around them, I think they're probably done in the sense that they've traded away a little bit of draft capital, and they just don't have a lot of cap space.
Right.
I mean, I think you start moving around too much money, it gets a little bit dangerous because then it's like, all right, and now next year, now you're paying a higher salary to certain guys, and maybe it precludes you from doing other things. Like, I think for the Chiefs right now, like as much as justifiably, a lot of Chiefs fans have been like, hey, look, this offense, like what's going on? They're third in the league in offense. I mean, and Mahomes is on pace for almost 5,000 yards passing. I mean, they're moving the ball. I think the other thing that really is genuinely taking off a lot of pressure is Rice. I keep talking about him. I think it's true. Like that kid's development is changing their situation because for so much of this year, you're looking at it going, all right, well, it's Kelsey and then what? Well, if Rice is even just a good, solid number two, it changes everything. Now the rest of these guys can fill the depth chart. It's like in baseball where you're like, man, we need a cleanup hitter, Now all of a sudden, like the Chiefs didn't need a cleanup hitter. They had that in Kelsey. They needed a leadoff guy. They need somebody to set the table. Well, Rice is doing that. And the backs can all catch the ball. So I don't think they're going to make another move. Look, if some team offers a trade that they're like, yeah, we can do that, then yeah, sure. But I don't think they're going to just go out of there. Like, I don't think they're going to get Hollywood Brown. I don't think something like that's going to happen. I think they're pretty content. And you know what, too? You could always wait around and see in December. There's always a veteran or two who gets cut. There's always a guy who says, hey, man, look, I'm in the last year of my deal. I want to go try to win a ring. Let me get out. Like the Chiefs guy years ago, Terrell Suggs. Where Suggs was in Arizona. They weren't going anywhere. They cut him. Chiefs picked him up on waivers. Guy ends up starting in the Super Bowl. Like, that's the guy I'd look at more this year for them because that guy at that point in the year, you're paying him nothing because it's a prorated salary and you're not giving up picks. That would be the addition I look for more than maybe at the deadline.
Speaking of additions, do you think the whole Frank Clark thing was going to happen, or you think they're just sitting back waiting, or you think they're going to bring him back eventually?
I think the general thought is like, he wants to be in Kansas City. I mean, I think it's a pretty clear, like, look, he wants to be there. So talking to people around them, I think there's a feeling of there's no rush, but at some point it would be nice to get him back.
Right.
That's another, like, I could see the Chiefs sitting on this, going through the Germany game, and then like during the bye week being like, all right, like, let's bring him back, play him against Philly, go down the stretch. The hard part is they have so many good defensive linemen. It's like, who are you cutting? But you almost want him for no other reason, A, to help develop FAU, who did a great job developing Karlaftis, and then B, the guy's Lawrence Taylor in the playoffs.
Right.
Like, if nothing else, just let him sit there and chill out and pay him to put his feet up, and then January, let him go get 4 sacks because it's what he does. So I think it's more likely than not that they bring him back at some point. I just don't feel like they're in a big rush right now to do it because they know he wants to be there. So I don't think there's any huge, like, we got to go get him this second.
And, that's a good problem to have. You bring him in, he's got that leadership counting thing to him. He's got a big voice in the locker room. Guys will listen to him. So, yeah, I say bring back the Shark. As far as the MVP race goes, I know Mahomes hasn't really had that great of he hasn't started off like usually Mahomes starts off.
Right.
But after yesterday's game, and not really nobody like really pulling away, Do you have him at the top of the MVP race?
It's funny. I was on a radio before this, and I was asked that, and I get asked it every week. And last week I said I think Tua right now is a guy, but I didn't really have a strong feeling. I said, you could pick a lot of guys right now, McCaffrey, and go on down the line. Mahomes has to be right now. He has to be. They're 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a pace right now, 4,898 yards and 36 touchdowns on a team that up until recently with Rice developing basically had Kelsey and a bunch of guys nobody's heard of, and he's on pace to do that. They're the best team, at least in the AFC, if not the NFL right now. I think it has to be Mahomes. I mean, if he throws for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, and they go 14-3 and they're the 1 seed, who's beating them? Who's beating them out? What is the argument? I mean, listen, Tua's having a very good year. Tua also has a couple of tremendous receivers and a scheme that really is tailored to him, which is fine. I mean, Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce for a ton of his career.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Hurts has 8 touchdowns and 8 picks. I mean, that's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen, that's not happening. Joe Burrow, that's not happening. And I'd like to point out Joe Burrow was my pick for MVP before the season started. So shout out to Joe Burrow's calf, which is hurting us all. But who's the guy? I know everybody wants to always point to McCaffrey. I'm sorry, it's quarterback award. It's just until proven otherwise. Maybe if Tyreek Hill goes out and has over 2,000 yards receiving, then all right, maybe. If a position player gets over 2,000 yards, it's a real conversation. But otherwise, it's probably the best quarterback. And right now, the best quarterback, both in general and in the moment, is Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree. Clarence, who you got in the MVP race right now?
That's tough because I haven't even started to think about it. But if I'm compiling it, obviously 15 is at the top. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about how everybody felt about the wide receiver room start of the year, and yet the numbers show you why he deserves to be the MVP. You know what I mean? Without question. Look what he had to endure and the question marks that everybody had about the wide receiver room outside of Travis, and yet still he's right there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? This is the reason why people outside of Kansas City, people who aren't Chiefs fans, this is why they get upset, because they know he is the standard bearer to which every other quarterback needs to be measured. There's no question. There's absolutely no question. Yeah. So, you have to book him as the MVP unless something drastic happens, which Andy's not going to allow that to happen. Pat won't allow that to happen.
Yeah. How y'all feel about Lamar Jackson? Y'all think he's in the race?
He's in the race. I mean, look, the problem is just the way they play. It makes now it's changed a little bit here with respect to Todd Monken coming in and being the OC, but he had a great game, an absolutely great game yesterday. One of the best games anybody's had all year long.
Yeah.
Torched Detroit, 38-6, all that stuff. And Lamar deserves a lot of shine. The problem is that statistically speaking, right now Lamar's 12th in passing yards, is 8 touchdowns and 3 picks. It's just he's not going to throw for 5,000 yards like Mahomes is going to. He's not going to have the 35, 40 touchdowns. Then the year he did, he was the MVP. He was unanimous MVP.
Right.
But that also is because he ran for, I think, 1,200 yards that year.
It was wild.
It's just hard, as great as he is and as great as he's been. It's a stats-driven thing, and it's a record-driven thing. If the Chiefs are the 1 seed, Mahomes is just out of this world, and he's 1 yards and 2 in touchdown passes. It's just so hard to vote against him. I mean, look, he is basically Michael Jordan right now.
Yeah.
Where you look at him and just go, that guy's the best player, period. Yeah. Right? Or when LeBron was just in his stretch of making the finals every year. Look, man, Paul George is great. It's not that guy. Not. Sorry. It's not the guy. That's where we are right now at Mahomes, where you just look at him and go, man, it's almost like if he plays well, he's the MVP of the league. Mm-hmm. And you just got to, is he going to get it, or does some other narrative take over? But right now, he's the best player in football by a considerable margin.
I got a question real quick.
Go ahead, Clint.
So Matt, do you think, take the Jets, I think it was maybe it was the pick against the Jets. Is it a game within a game for Pat where he's trying to find touch on certain passes? Because it looks like like in that game for is a prime example. It didn't look like it was a situation where he was just, throwing it to be irresponsible. More so, okay, I need to get some touch on certain throws, so let me perfect that now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think sometimes with him, it's funny because his arm is always the thing everybody talks about, how hard he can throw the football. But like, he's not the best deep ball thrower in the world. If there's one thing about that, like that's probably the thing. His accuracy's not always there, although he can throw the ball 70 yards. That's probably the thing that you look at. Now, when they had Tyreek Hill, that was different because he had such a rapport with Hill, he could just drop it in. But like he and MVS, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Same's true with Hardman. I think you're right. Like there is a little bit of trying to kind of gauge it. And you almost see him like thinking about the throw when he throws it sometimes downfield to those guys. Or I think with Hill, it was like, look, that dude's just going to get it. I'm just going to throw this thing as far as I can, and Tyreek's going to get down there. I think there is some of that. Where Mahomes is the best baby I've ever seen in my life are those intermediate throws where he just will whale the ball in there, and it's right on some guy in stride with first down the field. And it doesn't matter what the coverage is like. But I agree. I think there is a little bit when he throws the ball down the field, deep down the field, there is a little bit of feeling it out, trying to fit it in there. And I think in that Jets game in particular, he'd be the first one to tell you he just had a terrible night. But luckily they played well enough defensively to bail him out.
Yeah.
Do you have a concern with someone? Because it seems like he'll have like these past few games, he's had one of those throws where it's just like, why'd you throw that? Like he'll throw it in double coverage, or
I did a little bit earlier. But the more it's gone on, the more I think it's a little bit of him just being like, all right, look, I got to kind of figure out what I've got in these guys, and if that means we throw a pick like that, the pick where he threw to Hardman, and he ended up kind of saying Hardman actually did the right thing. He made a bad throw. Look, I think that's one of those things. He looked at it and went, man, it's third down. I'm throwing this thing 40 yards. If I get picked off, who cares? It's a punt. Like, I'm going to see what I've got here. I'm going to take a shot. And I know MVS was open on the play, get all that. You're not going to see him every time. But you know what? I think he just said, I'm going to take a chance here. And I'm going to throw this ball, and I'm going to see what happens. And even though it turned out to be a pick, that might be instructive for a game down the road. I mean, the Jets' picks were different because those picks were ones that cost them points, especially the first one. The one against the one against Denver was a weird one where the ball got tipped. And I mean, that happens. He was trying to throw the ball away, and it got tipped. But the one against the Chargers, I don't mind them taking that throw. That's one of those, hey, look, man, I'm going to give you a shot. Let's see what happens. But no, I'm not. Like I always say this about the Chiefs. If Mahomes is your biggest concern, you don't have a concern.
Right.
Like that's where you're at with
it. I agree. Now you look around the AFC, and coming into the season, everybody was like, "Oh, the AFC conference is so vaunted because of some of these quarterbacks, the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens, Lamar Jackson." But then you look and get into the season, and it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like there's no team. You look around and say, "Oh, that team's scary," and if you do, they're on the NFC side with San Francisco and maybe the Eagles, and you're not going to see them unless you go to the Super Bowl. So is that who in the AFC is like a team is like, oh, they're a contender and they're scary?
Well, look, Miami, I know they have this whole thing like they haven't beaten anybody, but you got to respect them. I mean, they have tons of speed. McDaniel's a good coach. And they're going to get Ramsey back here maybe even this week, if not probably for the Chiefs game. And so Ramsey, look, I don't think Ramsey fixes all their defensive issues, but like it'll help. I mean, he's a good player. I would say right now, Baltimore, you have to respect. Now, Baltimore, it's a yin and yang. Like on one hand, they never win anything in the playoffs ever. They get in the playoffs, they fall apart. But very well coached, they've got a very good quarterback, and they lead the league in sacks. That's a recipe to go deep in the playoffs. Jacksonville, I think, is a good team. The problem, I just don't know that Jacksonville is to that caliber yet. I mean, they played the Chiefs 3 times in the last calendar year, and the Chiefs beat them all 3 times. Right. And frankly, pretty easily in most of those games. The one game that was close was the game where Mahomes got hurt, and I think the Chiefs would have hung about 45 on him if Mahomes didn't get hurt in that game.
Right.
I think the main teams right now, Miami, and then Baltimore to an extent, and then tell me about like does Cincinnati, do they get healthy? Does Burrow get healthy? Because if he gets healthy, I still think they're the most dangerous team to Kansas City in the AFC. Okay. If he doesn't, I mean, he's bottom 5 quarterback in the league this year so far. So that's a huge question. Buffalo, it all depends what day you get them on. If you get them when they're really humming, they can beat anybody.
Yeah.
But you could also catch them in a day like the Chiefs play them in December. I would not be surprised if that's a one-score game, last 2 minutes, see who wins. I would not be surprised if Chiefs beat them 38-10. I think the Milano injury is so much bigger than most people realize.
I agree.
Like, man, as much as and I feel awful for Tre'Davious White, man, great dude, worked his ass to get back, and he closed his Achilles. The Milano injury, he does everything in that defense. Everything. To lose that guy, there's a reason Mac Jones went 25-30 yesterday. Just carve them up.
Yeah.
And I just don't know defensively. Like when they play really good offenses, that's going to get exposed. You know, when they play Baltimore and Kansas City and Miami again and Cincinnati's right, like you're going to see good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, just relentlessly tearing them up on the back end of that defense.
Yeah, I could see Travis Kelce having a great day against Buffalo without Matt Milano for sure. So, yeah, it's just like it seems like Buffalo plays to the level they can. You know, I know Kansas City was caught doing that too, but they play to the level of their competition. Like when they, like you said, they play Dolphins and they, you know what I'm saying, they blow them out. But then they play the Giants and then they play New England. And it's like they forgot how to play football all of a sudden. It's just I don't know.
That is the one thing with Buffalo, and this has been a year. Like this has been going on now for years. Like they've lost to Zach Wilson years in a row. They lost to Urban Meyer a couple of years ago. I mean that takes some doing to lose to Urban Meyer. Okay, at the NFL level, you lost to Urban Meyer. He didn't score a touchdown. You know, and I know a lot of Bills fans will say, "Well, hey man, the Chiefs, the Texans game went to overtime last year. You know, or the Broncos games. Here's the difference: they win those games. They win them." Yeah. The Chiefs will give you a heart attack. They do. They'll put you through the ringer in some game that you think they should win by 20 points. But other than that weird Colts game, and usually most teams have one game in a year where that just happens. And you have some weird game. The Chiefs don't lose those games. They bury those teams. Like they may play with their food for 55 minutes, but like they win the game. Buffalo loses some of those games. They lost to Zach Wilson. They lost to Mac Jones and the Patriots. Like, and the worst part to me about those games, those are divisional games.
Yeah.
How do you lose 2 games like that in your division? I mean, I looked this up the other day. Mahomes has now started 32 games against AFC West opponents. He is 29-3. They just bury these teams. I mean, I can't ever remember the Chiefs in a division race where I looked at the race after week 7. You know, I mean, they might as well sprint the banner. Now it's just about what they do.
Right.
It's crazy, but it's because they just crush these teams in the division every year.
Do you think Sean McDermott is going to be on the hot seat after this?
I think he's going to – if they go, 9, 8, 10, and 7, something like that, and they don't want a playoff game, I think there will be a lot of talk about it. They did just extend him, so I think that kind of mutes some of it. But, look, let's put it this way. I don't think he's going to get fired. I do think if that scenario plays out, you're going to have a lot of people in Buffalo saying, hey, man, like it is a short leash. The thing with Buffalo that's tough, they've not drafted particularly well the last 4 years. And when you don't draft very well, you get old and you get expensive. And the Bills are old and they're way over the cap for next year already. And they got a bunch of guys. I mean, you look at that team, guys who either are 30-plus or are going to be next year. Deion Dawkins, Mitch Morse, Micah Hyde, Von Miller, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White. I might be 29. I have to double check that. But Tre'Davious White now obviously coming off 2 very serious injuries, lower body. Milano. I mean, you're talking about like these are real guys. Diggs is going to be 30. Like, they're old and they're expensive and they're going in the wrong direction. And I just look at some point, man, you cannot draft for a few years and it doesn't catch up to you right away because you drafted good earlier. You kind of get away with it. If you don't draft well for 2, 3, 4 years in a row, at some point, that's coming home. I mean, it just is. And right now for the Bills, it is coming home to roost. By the way, they just announced Dawson Knox needs wrist surgery. He's out indefinitely. So they're going through it right now in Buffalo.
It is. Yep. It is. And they traded away, what's his name? Edmonds, the middle linebacker. They traded him away to Chicago.
Yeah, that was crazy. Before we get you out of here, Matt, who are your players of the game?
I thought of Menahu. And then obviously on offense, Kelce and Mahomes. And lastly, I'd say the tackles. The tackles did a great job. I mean, the Chargers were. I mean, their pass rush was a rumor in that game. They did nothing.
Right. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thank you, man. I know you're, like I said, I know you're a busy man. So thank you for taking the time out, man, and coming on the pod, man.
Absolutely.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good one. Enjoy your Monday.
All right, brother. It was a good one right there. Good interview right there, man. Yeah. Like I said, appreciate him coming on the show, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we get out of here, man, what was your thoughts on yesterday's, like, not just the Chiefs game, but just the NFL period?
Well, like we talked about weeks ago, man. You point out a high scoring game like the Chiefs put out. Like last one was Chicago, right? So. But at the same time, yeah, it was against a struggling team, but you still have to take care of business, right? Mm-hmm. So you go to this week, it's a division game, which they only hung 19 on Denver, and for them to score that 31, and Pat looked like Pat, and Travis, and Rasheed, and even Scott Moore caught a couple passes yesterday. MVS showed up, you know what I'm saying? Like they're getting it together, which I mean. They're finding this now because they got a Buffalo that they're going to have to play. They got a Cincinnati that they got to play. You know what I mean? They got a Philly that they got to play. You know what I'm saying? Like them are measuring sticks to which they want to say, okay, this is why we run the AFC. And if we see y'all in the Super Bowl, this is why we're going to whoop y'all again. You know what I'm saying? So I think everything – looked great yesterday from that standpoint. I mean, you talk about that New England game. Look, I felt like New England was going to beat them just off of the strength that it was a division game. Mm-hmm. They know Buffalo. They know Josh Allen. They know Stephon. You know what I'm saying? No Matt Milano. You know what I'm saying? Like all these components, and you giving that to Bill Belichick in his house. You know what I mean? That make it difficult. And Philly just showed what dominating the line of scrimmage will do. You know what I mean? Like Hassan Reddick for Philly last night, like he's 3 yards in the backfield before anybody even touches him. And you're talking about all that jet action motion with Reek and all of this, and it still don't matter. Miami still can't find a run game. Like
they miss your boy.
Good teams, yeah. Good teams are showing you why they're good teams, and you're starting to see that gap already start to happen, which is something we don't normally get until late November. You know what I'm saying? And now we starting to see that gap starting to wide out. I'm interested to see who starts getting hot in November and who falls off. You know what I mean? You know what's going to happen.
Right, because I agree with Matt. Like as much trash as we talk about Bengals, if Burrows does get healthy, and that team starts rolling. Like they can make a run. They definitely can make a run, and they can give teams some problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I actually want them to be healthy for the for the New Year's Eve game because I don't want no excuses.
For real.
I don't want no excuses.
Burrow's
hurt. Like I want him to be healthy. So and it looks like he's starting to get a little healthy. You know what I'm saying? From the last game, they're coming off.
Higgins was back. Yeah,
they're coming off the bye week, so he should be ready to go. Mm-hmm. We'll see how they look out for the bye. Baltimore is one of the most interesting teams to me because they kind of had a slow start like us offensively. You know what I'm saying? Like they were kind of up and down. And then yesterday, lo and behold, when we put it together, they put it together against a very good Detroit Lions team. They don't take that. Like I just think Detroit was missing Montgomery yesterday. And you know what I'm saying? That running game, that was just it was not there. So they couldn't really get nothing going offensively. But
I knew Detroit was in trouble when Odell caught a deep pass. It was like a 15, 17-yard pass, something like that. I was like, oh, yeah, this about to be ugly. Y'all let Odell get the ball on y'all, man. Come on. It's about to be a wrap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because Odell.
Man, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Because I kept looking up at the score, and I'm like, damn, it's 28-0.
Yeah, it's bad.
What happened? Detroit going to show up today?
No.
Okay.
They got swarmed quick, man.
Hey,
go Chiefs.
Yes.
North Kakalaka.
Thank you for watching, Sherry. But yeah, Yeah, it was just a weird day. And then the Browns and Deshaun Watson is done, man. It's over.
You
I
think
tried.
so?
I tried to hold out hope, man.
Man,
I don't like what I'm
I don't
seeing.
know. I
I
don't
just
know.
don't like what.
It's a shoulder, man. You
Maybe
know what I
that
mean?
shoulder is hurting more than what
Mm-hmm.
than they're putting on, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe he just needs to sit out
Mm-hmm.
for the
Yeah.
season. I don't know
Yeah.
how bad that shoulder is, but
Yeah.
it don't look the same, man.
No.
Even when he was out, like the games when he started, it do not look the same. Like when
Yeah.
he that last year with the Texans,
Yeah.
outside of Patrick Mahomes and maybe
Yeah.
Brady,
Yeah. He
Deshaun
led the league
Watson.
in passing yards that
That's what I'm
year.
saying.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson was probably the third best quarterback in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like now you look at him and it's just like I don't know if it's Cleveland. I don't know if the Cleveland got on them or whatever.
Right.
no, no, no disrespect to the Browns, but
I
you know
mean,
what I'm saying?
if they keep it as close as they can with that defense,
The defense,
it,
Miles
it,
Garrett is my defensive player of the year right now.
yeah, oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, like he wrecking everything, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They could find themselves on the back end of a wild card spot. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And who knows? You let him sit 4 to 5 weeks and let that shoulder heal so he can at least absorb falling on the ground. Like he comes back the 1st of December and they business as usual. Like I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And it's not like, I don't know. I don't think he needs to be like superhero great like he was with
Yeah,
the Texans. He just
yeah.
needs to be solid with that defense.
It just needs to
And,
be available.
I know Nick Chubbs was a big blow to them. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
their best player on
Yeah,
offense.
yeah,
But you still got Amari Cooper out there. You still
yeah,
got Elijah Moore. You still
yeah,
got Peoples out
yeah,
there like
yeah.
Njoku, like Kareem
And
Hunt. Look,
to his
Kareem Hunt.
credit, though,
I think Kareem Hunt's starting to get his legs underneath him a little
to
bit. But
his or in his defense, he played in probably one of the most physical games of the year when they went to Pittsburgh. Like that was that's the game Chubb got hurt in. Like
mm-hmm.
they couldn't pass block for nothing in that game.
No, they could.
And
His offensive line let him down, and they
Highsmith was just eating
killing them.
every
Yep.
passing down,
Mm-hmm.
every passing down. They in the backfield, like
That's
it
what
was
lost
bad.
him the game.
Yeah, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, in his defense, like he did get whooped on by Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh whooped on him, man. I felt bad for him. Like he can't even make a 3-step drop. He can't do nothing. Like they was just right there all game. It was physical. It was nasty, man. Like,
and then the Dolphins. I said this on my other pod. I said the Dolphins. Y'all need home field advantage more than anybody in the AFC. Because y'all got to go on the road. I don't know. You went to the road. You lost to Buffalo on the road. You went to the Eagles, even though there was some, like if Tyree doesn't drop that pass last night, and
but they still got that touchdown right back.
Yeah, true. And then the face mask thing, they didn't call it, but calls get missed all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yep. It is what it is. Yep. That's football. But yeah, I don't know, man.
They had 3 offensive linemen out too.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, it is what it is.
Fire sale. Yeah. Do you think Vrabel gets fired? No. I think he's a made man, dog. I think Vrabel's a made man. I just think he's one of those guys like Tomlin. They're just made men. You know what I'm saying? And they just
I think they'll either move on from the coordinator or Derrick Henry might get shopped. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe it's time.
I think they.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's time.
I think they just rebuild.
Yeah,
and if Vrabel doesn't want
anyway.
Now, if Vrabel doesn't want to rebuild, then I can see them parting ways, more a mutual thing. Like, you know what? Y'all need to just get another coach in here because I don't want to rebuild.
Well, you see them letting go of Kevin Byard, like that's him being on board with it and signing on because that's his side of the ball. That's him. That defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy that they went from playing for first place to going overseas, getting smacked to, all right, let's start preparing for the future. Ryan Tannehill gets hurt too. Like,
No, they about to put your boy Will Levis out there.
see what you got. Why not?
Man, they
Let
better
him
put
take
your
these
boy out
bumps. Let him take these bumps. Let him get whooped on. You know what I mean? Like, why not?
there.
You
Yeah.
know, Indy set they QB. You know what I mean? You got to contend with Houston playing good football in Jacksonville. So why not? Let them figure it out.
You think we need to make a move at the trade deadline?
Nah, you got everything you want.
I don't think we need nothing on the defensive side. I think we're good on that. I agree with Matt. I don't think we have many weaknesses. If you were to point out a weakness, it would be the safeties. That would be our biggest glare. Like that would be the only weakness. And I don't even think that. I think when they're on point, our safeties are still good. I think when Justin Reed is focused, I think he's good. Sometimes I just think he has a brain for like that Joshua Kelly run. If he just steps up in the hole and hits him, that's not a touchdown, but he just kind of stood there and just let dude run past him. And it's just like, what are you doing? And then even on that Joshua, what's the what's the receiver name? Not Palmer. Palmer. That deep pass that he caught.
Yeah.
That was on Cook. Cook got turned around.
Yeah.
And dude was just wide open. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he still made the tackle.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be fine. I think offensively. I think the offense is going to start rolling now. I think they finally got their three guys that they trust: MVS, Rishi Rice, of course with Travis Kelce, and then you just mix and match with Sky sometimes, Tony sometimes, Miko. I think Miko will move up on the depth chart because he knows the offense and he has that trust with Patrick. You know what I'm saying? So then you might mix in maybe down the road Justin Ross, because even in today's press with Andy Reid, they even asked him, "Oh, he got more snaps, this week." He was like, well, "We got to see what the kid can do." You know what I'm saying? And the only way to do that is to give him more snaps. So hopefully that's an indication that Andy's about to use the Justin Ross.
Yeah, I don't see them changing anything because like. Andy is that type of dude, you know what I mean? Like when he get that starting five, that O line, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even if they were to bring in somebody, like you can't really expect them to come in and be an impact guy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not in the club, you're not in the club. Like it's the train's moving. Like they set. You know what I mean? Like we gonna live and die with what we got. You know what I'm saying? And it's unnecessary when you have youth at that wide receiver position to go out and pick up a D-Hop or listen. They're young at that wide receiver position. And now we're starting to pay dividends. You know what I'm saying? Pat can depend on Rasheed a little bit. You know what I mean? We're going to see the flashes from Justin. And, you know what I mean? Like everything is starting to click and starting to mesh together perfectly. And you still got Jerick McKinnon. Now, I will say, if you can find something to move that dude that's in the backfield that, you know what I mean?
What's his name?
Rhymes with Glide.
What's his name?
Rhymes with Glide. Okay?
No, what's his name? What's his real name?
I ain't saying his name, buddy. No. I'm just saying, like,
does he wear the number 25?
He does. And he runs right into the guard's ass. He does. Every run. Oh, my bad. Excuse me. No, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? He run right into the guard's ass. I don't get it. But cement shoes, Clyde. Cement shoes.
Man.
Like,
yesterday, Clyde had a rough one. Yesterday, it was rough.
How you drop a ball coming out the backfield? How you drop that? How you drop that?
Right.
Lucky it wasn't a fumble, man. And then he dropped it, and he didn't even turn around to go back to get it. He just looked at it like, "Oh well, I guess I didn't catch that one." Like, turn around, jump on the ball, fool, before they call a fumble. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Go sit down, man. Just go sit down.
Get on the bench.
You know what I'm saying? Just go sit down, man. Go sit down. Sit down. Don't stand up and be happy. Go sit down.
I think the Chiefs are good. I agree.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, I think they're good too. If it was a couple weeks ago, I'd be like, man, let's go get somebody. But now, I think we're all right, man. I think we're fine.
They're good. They're good.
We'll be back in the AFC Championship game. You know what I'm saying? It's looking like that. You know, God willing, no injuries and nothing like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And hopefully,
keep trending right.
Nick Bolton, speedy recovery, man. It sucks that you know what I'm saying. You one of our favorite players, man. We always.
It's been a hard season for him, man. It's been a hard season. It's been a season of adversity for him, man.
It has.
So,
it has. And thank God. I mean? Say what you want about Brett Veach.
Yeah.
But you better thank your lucky stars that he went and got Drew Tranquil. You better be lucky that he got Drew Tranquil to be the backup.
Because we would have been asking Leo Chenal to play pass, and that's not his strong suit. He dope against the run, though.
I agree, Brian. That's the only like real liability on our team is against good tight ends. Yeah. I agree though. I think we'll be all right though. I think Justin Reed and Brian Cook and I like
Edwards.
He almost had a pick yesterday.
Listen, Edwards is the X factor. Like I guarantee you, he will probably come up clutch against Cincy, and you'll never see it coming. Like he'll be the one to pick out Burrow.
Yeah,
it'll be him.
Yeah. I would rather him guard like tight.
He's a ball hog, dog.
Yeah,
he a ball hog.
He is a ball hog.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Who's your players of the game?
Offensively, I'll go with Patty. 15. Defensively, I got to give it to Menahue.
Yeah.
Coming back and impacting the game like that. Absolutely.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Trav, and defensively, since you already, I'm you know what on defense, I'm gonna give it to the secondary. I'm gonna give it to the secondary, man.
You could have gave it to Menahue too. He can do like, but he can get full support, man. We can give him full support. He got to be different. I mean,
of course, Menahue is the defensive player of the game, but I'm just saying,
Chris.
In the second half, this job that the corners did on Keenan Allen.
Okay, hold on. How did they get to the point that they could do a good job on Keenan Allen without pressure up front?
You right. Huh? You right.
Come on,
I'm just
Chris.
saying, man. I'm gonna show love to these corners, man.
Yeah. Nah, they ball out.
Let me read something to you real quick before we get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Where is it at? Against the number one wide receivers this year, the only person who had a decent game was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. That was the best. Mm-hmm. Calvin Ridley, 2 catches, 32 yards. DJ Moore, 3 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown. That was in garbage time. Garrett Wilson, 6 catches, 60 yards. Justin Jefferson, 3 catches, 28 yards. Yes, he did not finish the fourth quarter, but going into the fourth quarter, he had 3 catches and 28 yards.
Right.
Cortland Sutherland, 4 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown.
Why you gotta bring up Cortland Sutherland?
But that touchdown was like he had to
listen. Why you didn't bring up Cortland Sutton? Cortland Sutton shouldn't even be included in that. Like, stop.
Well, I can't talk about Jerry Jeudy. He had 2 catches and 14 yards.
You could just gloss over Denver's whole stats. Nobody cares.
And then Keenan Allen had 4 catches and 55 yards.
Yeah. Listen. I'm not knocking what they doing. Like, it's a masterclass.
Yeah.
I mean, that secondary putting on a masterclass for the entire league, not just for the AFC, but for the entire league. It's funny to see how Philly's defense is trending and is dominant, and the Chiefs' defense is trending and dominant. It's good to see them parallels. Like, I can't wait for that game. Like, the line of scrimmage battles are going to be insane in that game. Insane.
I can't wait for that game too.
I'm
trying to think, should we do a live broadcast? No, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
For that one, yeah. Absolutely. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
So that's huge, bro.
All right, bro. Let's go ahead and land this thing. Another great show in the books. Let's give a shout out to our sponsor, If it would just come up.
It's up. I'm looking at it.
Glitch energy drinks, baby. If you're a gamer, if you like to work out, you into sports, you like, moving around, get some good energy, go to glitchenergydrinks.com. You know what I'm saying? Get you some
Mhm.
good, they got some good powder energy drinks you can purchase, supplements, things of that
Mhm.
nature. Once you purchase something, hit that promo code, man, AH Chief Pod. You get 10% off. We saving you money. We saving you
Absolutely.
money. You know what I'm saying? That's
So
what
you
we
got more
doing.
money to buy another game.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Spider-Man 2, Call of Duty, 2K, whatever.
Whatever's your poison, whatever your
Yeah,
vice is when it comes to
yeah,
gaming, you go ahead and do
yeah.
that. If you just
On the
working out, whatever.
PS5, I might add.
You know what? I know that was a dig towards me. I know it was a dig towards me. That's all right. That's all right.
It's love, brother. It's love, brother. I'm your brother.
And if you look down at the bottom, you see the link
Yeah, just there.
emqpodcast.com/locker-room. If you click on that link, you see the locker room access of all the podcasts under the Every Morning Quarterback umbrella. They got a Patriots one who got a dub yesterday. They got the 49ers one who's probably going to get a dub tonight. And they got us, Arrowhead Chief Podcast. You know what I'm saying? We got the dub yesterday too. So go ahead and click on our banner. And you'll see all of our episodes from the past to the recent ones. Go ahead and do that. Also, subscribe. Hit that like button.
Yeah,
Hit the
subscribe. Yeah,
notification button because we giving you 2 shows a week now,
yeah,
people.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Let
Joe,
us
you
know.
been gone, man. We doing
Yeah,
2 shows a week, Joe.
yeah,
So we
Joe.
need you.
Yeah,
Friday, we missed you on Friday, man.
yeah,
We
man. We
need
had a
you.
good show too Friday, Joe.
Yeah, Joe. We need you,
Hmm.
baby. I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad
No, we not
everything's okay.
Hollywood. No, no, no. We not Hollywood. No, no,
I'm
no.
glad you're healthy. I'm glad you're back. Shout out to Joe. You know what I'm saying? But we
Yeah,
need you, Joe, on Fridays,
yeah,
man. We
yeah.
need that. We need that hype, man. You're our
Right
mascot.
after SmackDown. Come on over, man.
You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and do it. But go ahead and check out Every Morning Quarterback. They got, their own YouTube channel. They talk about everything league wide. You know what I'm saying? They even give you betting tips, college football they talk about. So go and check them out. And shout out to them, Every Morning Quarterback. And whatever streaming platform you use, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon, whatever you use to listen to your podcast, Arrowhead Cheap Podcast is on there. And follow us, social media, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, you know what I'm saying? Threads, you on
100%.
threads, you know what I'm saying? All of them, you know what I'm saying?
Except for
Follow us.
Snapchat. Don't do
Yeah,
Snap.
yeah, you stay away from Snapchat. There's some things on Snapchat. Well, Twitter ain't no better, but some things on Snapchat you don't want to see. But yeah, go ahead and follow us. We'll follow you back. Because what is our motto, Clarence?
We not Hollywood.
Yeah. We not Hollywood at
I'm waiting
all.
on it, Joe. Where you at, Joe? Come on.
He already said it. He said it.
No, he said we Hollywood.
Oh man, Hollywood. See, he messed up. He did
Okay,
it.
there you go. All right.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man, follow us. We'll follow you back. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna try to give you the best Chief content we want trying to give you. So hit us up, man. Give us feedback, critiques. Just talk to us nice. You know what I'm saying? Don't come at us raw. You know what I'm saying? Come at us, nice. You know what I'm saying? Respectful. You know what I'm saying?
No.
We got a problem with some Clarence said, I said, Ty when he's on, Mark when he's on. You know what I'm saying? You got a problem with one of us? Holler at us, man.
Just
You know
be
what I'm saying?
nice.
We're very approachable men. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But we're
So
human
hit us-
beings, so talk to us
yeah.
nice.
So hit us up. Give us, feedback,
We have
topics y'all want
feelings too.
to Chiefs topics that y'all want to talk about, whatever, anything NFL too, we'll bring it up. Hit us up, man. So, all right, y'all. Until next time.
We out.
Here we go.